Hello friends, this is Grief speaking. Today we're going to be looking at the disturbing food incidents and scandals iceberg, created by me. Yeah, so like the yokai iceberg I made a couple of months ago, I was surprised to find that this topic wasn't in an existing iceberg in some shape or form. I'm not an expert on creating iceberg charts, but I took another stab at it for this one, and it definitely could be updated, rearranged, or added to in the future. So let me know what I may have missed in the comments, but let's not waste any more time and just get right into the iceberg. Tier 1, starting with McDonald's hot coffee scandal. Probably the most well-known fast food scandal in the last couple of decades was McDonald's hot coffee scandal. No relation to the GTA hot coffee scandal. In 1992, 79-year-old Stella Liebeck suffered third-degree burns when she spilled a cup of piping hot McDonald's coffee on her crotch. This resulted in a lawsuit that won her almost $3 million in damages. At the time that this story broke, a lot of people figured it was a grift in order to make some money off of the company and that the burns were embellished for the case. But in 2011, the HBO documentary Hot Coffee revealed just how serious the injury was, as the woman had to undergo several skin grafts over the course of a couple of years. E. coli in Chipotle Mexican Grill. In 2015, there was a huge incident of contaminated food from Chipotle when over 50 people across multiple states were infected with E. coli. The CDC was never able to get to the bottom of where in the supply chain the food was contaminated, but Chipotle was forced to temporarily shut down 40 of its restaurants in response, and the people infected suffered from stomach cramps, vomiting, and bloody diarrhea. Honestly, my body has the same reaction from Chipotle without the E. coli. The Tylenol Murders. Okay, so this one's concerning medicine, not food, but I'm gonna let it in on a technicality because you still consume it. This is a kind of infamous incident that occurred in 1982 when 7 people were killed after someone intentionally tampered with the bottles of Tylenol by poisoning them with cyanide. The fact that someone could so easily do this was terrifying and actually prompted a massive change in over-the-counter drugs. In fact, you know how every time you open a bottle of any medication, it has that annoying seal you have to tear off first? That's all thanks to this one incident. The thing is, the person or persons who did this were never found to this day. It's incidents like this that highlight a terrifying aspect of our society. The ease in which someone walked into a drugstore, poisoned some Tylenol, and left without a trace is unsettling. But on the other hand, the fact that this doesn't happen all the time and incidents like this are the rare exception is kind of a miracle. Finger in Wendy's chili. One of the most bizarre on the list, in 2005, a woman claimed to have found a human finger in her bowl of chili at a Wendy's in San Jose, California. The woman in question said she was enjoying her chili when she bit into a human finger. The first thought on everyone's mind is, how in the hell do you chop your finger off and accidentally serve it? Well, after an extensive investigation, no one at the restaurant was missing any fingers. But the finger did exist, and the police began doing DNA testing on it. Now, here's the thing. The story was revealed to be a hoax, which is kind of disappointing, but honestly, after reading more into it, I think the hoax is actually more interesting than the original story. It was discovered that the woman had planted the finger in the chili herself, and apparently the finger was traced back to a man who had lost it in an industrial accident and then sold it to the woman's husband. I mean, how insane is that? Does that mean the guy just kept the finger on ice up until he sold it? Why would he have kept it? Imagine this guy thinking, I knew my severed finger would come in handy one day. Thank God I kept it. Okay, moving into tier 2, starting with McDonald's French fries cooked in beef tallow. Despite advertising that McDonald's fries were cooked in 100% vegetable oil, in 1990 it was discovered that the fries were actually cooked in beef tallow, which is far more fattening. A large part of the outcry from the public wasn't actually based on the fact that the beef tallow is more fattening, but rather that there were people who don't consume meat products for moral or health reasons who had no idea they were actually doing just that. The worst thing about this is that despite the slimy lie, I really want some McDonald's fries right now. The ice cream licking trend. You might remember in 2019, a few videos went viral of people messing with food in department stores, most notably opening containers of ice cream, licking it, and then putting it back into the freezer. This was pretty shocking to see, and this trend actually followed into 2020, making it all the more disturbing during the pandemic. Luckily, a couple of these people were arrested. Metal pieces in Tyson chicken nuggets. In 2019, Tyson Foods announced a recall of approximately 36,420 pounds of frozen chicken nugget products after receiving complaints about pieces of metal found in the chicken. Apparently there are no associated deaths, but man, finding metal chunks in your nuggets is a tough look. Glass pieces in Nutella jars. If you thought metal pieces in chicken nuggets were bad, in 2016 there was a mass recall on Nutella after customers began finding pieces of glass in some jars. Man, that's disturbing. Mouse in Monster Energy can. This entry is maybe the most disgusting on the iceberg and is the reason I wanted to make this video, because the image attached has haunted me for many years. In 2010, a man supposedly found a dead mouse in his can of Monster and the image is truly revolting. The guy said he finished drinking his can of Monster and set it down, but it felt too heavy to be empty, so he went for one last swig, and here's the quote from the guy, which is so gross. "I put it down and felt it was still heavy, so I backwashed it and all this debris went into my mouth. Then I looked in the can and saw the tip of a tail, and I vomited everywhere." Yeah, I'm about to vomit everywhere just listening to this. Apparently the guy got a lawyer and they sent the mouse to a lab just to prove that the rodent wasn't killed by chemicals or trauma. Well, of course, Monster denied this had anything to do with manufacturing. Their big argument was that if a mouse was left in there, it would have dissolved over time, which isn't really the best endorsement of the drink itself, but the logic does check out. This isn't the only case of this sort of thing happening either. In 2009, a man found a mouse in his Budweiser, and in the same year, a man claimed to have found one in his can of NOS. My main skepticism here is I just don't get how a mouse could get into a can during the actual production process. I even went so far as to watch several how it's made videos to try and find a point where this could possibly happen, and I have to say, I think these are probably just hoaxes. Not impossible, but definitely unlikely. Sewing needles found in Australian strawberries. Unlike the glass shards in Nutella or metal pieces in chicken nuggets, this wasn't a mistake due to some manufacturing error, but intentional food tampering. In 2018, there were several accounts of consumers finding sewing needles in strawberries they had purchased, with some people even being hospitalized after swallowing needles. It makes my throat hurt just to think about that. This became such an issue that authorities began advising the public to cut into strawberries before consuming them. Eventually, an investigation was traced back to a former employee of a strawberry farm who was charged with the food tampering offenses. Rat found in Popeye chicken. In 2003, a Popeyes customer claimed to have found a fried rat in her basket of chicken, and in 2016, a woman claimed to have found a fried rat head amongst her chicken tenders. This one comes with a picture and it's absolutely revolting. In both incidents, Popeyes conducted an investigation into the restaurants, but their findings and any potential lawsuits are under wraps, so it's hard to tell whether this is just another hoax or a horrifying reality. Domino's Booger pizza video. In 2009, Domino's got a huge amount of negative attention when two employees filmed themselves tampering with food and posting it online. The video is pretty disgusting as one of the employees sneezes into a batch of cheese sticks, rubbing a booger into the cheese before cutting it up and putting it on the heat rack. Obviously, everyone was outraged and the company vowed to find and fire the two employees. The most infuriating thing about this video to me is the totally unlikable personalities of these people, who by the way were in their 30s and had children for God's sake. I'm already dreading the editing on this one where I have to rewatch the video because these morons just drive me insane. Anyway, they did find them and they were actually arrested, thank God. I mean, imagine if this lady was your mom. Those kids would have a better shot being catapulted into the deep woods to be raised by raccoons. Okay, we're moving into tier 3, starting with the Burger King horse meat scandal. In 2013, there was a massive scandal concerning horse meat being found in several products labeled as only containing beef. This happened on such a large scale that it affected many companies and retailers across multiple countries, including the US and big companies like Burger King. Originally, Irish food inspectors announced that they had found horse DNA in frozen beef burgers sold in several supermarkets in Ireland and the UK. The source of the horse meat was traced back to suppliers in Eastern Europe, where horse meat was mixed with beef and then sold to food processing companies, which in turn entered the broader European supply chain. Pretty disturbing. Expired meat sold to fast food restaurants. In 2014, a Chinese TV station aired an undercover investigation showing workers at a Shanghai food company using expired meat and meat that had fallen onto the floor in their products. The report also revealed workers relabeling and repackaging old chicken and beef with new expiration dates, and this expired and mishandled meat was sent out to many well-known fast food joints like McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks, and Pizza Hut. Disgusting. Of course, once the story broke, all the restaurants involved immediately ceased using the company's products. Soylent food making people sick. In 2016, Soylent, a meal replacement company, faced scrutiny when a large number of consumers complained of getting sick after eating the company's food bars as well as their Soylent powder. Now, if you're like me, when this company first came on the scene, you thought of only one thing.
Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them silent breed is people!
For anyone who doesn't know, there was a Charlton Heston movie from 1972 called Soylent Green. The film takes place in a dystopian future where humans all eat a processed food wafer by the Soylent Corporation. The big reveal, sorry for the 50-year-old spoiler, is that the wafers are made from humans, leading to the haunting line, Soylent Green is people. It's just insane to me that after that movie, a company would use the name Soylent, especially a food replacement company. Anyway, they never actually found anything wrong with the products and couldn't figure out why people were getting sick. My theory theory is that because of the jokes about Soylent being made from people in reference to the old movie, this created a mixture of people faking the illness and a sort of nocebo effect where people were making themselves sick psychologically. But what do I know? It's not like it's a shocker that replacing real meals with a powder or food bar could make people woozy. Plastic shards in Snicker bars. This was an incident in 2016 when a person in Germany found a piece of red plastic in their Snicker bar. Shortly after, the company recalled millions of products in one of the biggest recalls in history that affected 55 countries. Plastic pieces in frozen pizza. Another case of plastic found in foods. In 2013, consumers began reporting pieces of plastic within store-bought frozen pizzas. This resulted in a huge recall of several frozen pizza brands such as California Pizza Kitchen and DiGiorno. Needle in a sandwich on Air Canada flight. In 2012, a passenger on an Air Canada flight from British Columbia to Toronto discovered a sewing needle in his prepackaged sandwich. I guess this wasn't the only incident of this nature at the time either. Around the same time, Delta Airlines reported several incidents of sewing needles found in sandwiches on its flights. As far as I can tell, they never actually got to the bottom of it either. The fact that it's such a foreign object though makes me think this is similar to the strawberry incident and that there's just some whack job out there intentionally tampering with the sandwiches. Okay, we're on to tier 4, starting with lead in Maggi noodles. In 2015, Nestle came under fire in India when large amounts of lead were found in the popular instant noodle brand Maggi. The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India reported the samples of Maggi noodles that had been found to contain unsafe levels of lead, apparently at several times the permissible amount. Wait, there's a permissible amount? Damn, I guess I was under the assumption that 0% was permissible, but I guess I'm just a dumbass. Hepatitis A in frozen berries. In 2013, a straight up hepatitis outbreak was linked to Townsend Farms' organic blend of frozen berries. The outbreak was first identified when cases of hepatitis A, which matched a unique strain rarely seen in Americas, began to surface. The product was recalled and the CDC recommended that people who consume the berries should get hepatitis vaccines. Man, that sounds horrifying. Dioxin in Belgian poultry. Okay, this one's kind of crazy. In 1999, there was a mass contamination of chicken and other food products with dioxin. By the way, dioxin is the prime component used in Agent Orange. Remarkably, as far as I can tell, there were no deaths associated with this incident, but who knows what long-term effects this might have had on people. Metal fragments in cereal. In 2004, 2.8 million boxes of Kellogg's brand cereals were recalled after metal shavings were found in the cereal. Unlike many of the entries on this iceberg, this was not discovered by a consumer, but the company itself during a routine inspection where it found that a faulty manufacturing part was causing metal flakes to be mixed in with the cereal. Well, props to them for discovering it for themselves, but who knows how many, if any, people ingested metal from this incident. Man, I miss the early 2000s, watching Yu-Gi-Oh! On 4Kids TV and eating a big bowl of metal fragments. Now let's move into the final tier, tier 5, starting with melamine in milk products. In 2008, China faced a major health incident after it was found that many Chinese milk products, including baby formula, had been adulterated with melamine, a nitrogen-rich industrial chemical used in the production of plastics and fertilizers. The melamine was intended to make the diluted milk appear more protein-rich than it actually was. This all came to light when a massive number of babies in China began having kidney problems. Apparently, around 300,000 babies in China were affected by the contaminated milk. 54,000 were hospitalized and 6 died as a direct result. All just to make your product look a little better. My God. Glass shards in baby food. In 1986, Gerber, probably the most famous baby food company, came under fire when numerous reports from across the country came out of consumers finding glass shards in the baby food. Of all the plastic and glass entries on this iceberg, this is the most disturbing because a baby's not going to be able to identify the glass in the food, so who knows how many babies ate glass unbeknownst to the parents. After an investigation, Gerber claimed that this was not due to a manufacturing error, but instead suggested this was tampering done after they left the facilities. Scary. Tooth found in Mars bar. Well, this is exactly what it says on the tin, and it's pretty gross. In 2015, a man apparently found a human tooth with a dental filling attached to it embedded in his Mars bar. That's revolting, I have to say. Weirdly enough, this one just didn't get a lot of media attention, and so it's unclear whatever happened to the guy or whether or not he sued. And finally, Aldi's cocaine bananas. This one is kind of awesome, actually. In 2014, several Aldi employees in Berlin, Germany found over 300 pounds of cocaine in banana boxes. Apparently, there were several incidents like this at the time as drug smugglers attempted to use legitimate cargo shipments to transport illegal substances across international borders. Pretty wild. I'd much rather find cocaine in my bananas than a dead mouse though. Okay, well, the chart itself might need a little work, but I think the entries are all really interesting, and I'm excited to see what you guys think should be added to it. I want to give a shout out to my patrons, Naomi Romero, Soma, Krusty the Crab, One Group, Laz Wishgender, Glimmering Haster, Hunter Piva, Tora, Heather M, Glenn Bridges, Creepypasta Cube, A Slightly Bigger Ant, Hannah Broadstreet, Jinxie Baby, Ricky Shadow, Chase Middleton, Kohi, Matt Rozak, and Momomochi. You guys are awesome. If you want to get a shout out like that at the end of every video, as well as bonus vids, consider becoming a patron. And on that note, I've started a new series of videos on there called Research Notes, where I go over interesting details about the videos, as well as just the behind the scenes of making them. In fact, there's a new one up right now on this very Iceberg, so check that out. Also, I'll be wrapping up the J-horror film Iceberg next, so sorry for anyone who's been waiting for the next part. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for all the new subscribers. That's all I got. This is Grief speaking. Goodbye, friends.